Hospitals are essential infrastructure for every community. These complex buildings are almost complete ecosystems where patients and their visitors, healthcare providers and other staff all rely on dozens of separate systems working together and working well. Hospitals are also known for having a major impact on the environment, with significant needs for resources such as water and energy. So what will the hospital of the future look like? What does it take to design, build and operate a hospital that can care for patients, personnel and the planet? In this episode, we take a closer look at an amazing project where the construction and design teams work closely with the customer to complete a major expansion of a hospital in Charlottesville in the USA. This was a huge construction project at a hospital that could not stop caring for patients, not for a single day. And on top of that, the project and the team were tested to the limit when the COVID-19 pandemic hit the region and the world. Looking back on the project today, it's seen as a huge success in so many ways. So with me today to talk about the UVA University Hospital expansion are, from the client's perspective, Mark Humbertson, Construction Administration Manager with the University of Virginia Facilities Management, John Pendorf, Associate Principal at the multidisciplinary design firm Perkins & Will, the designers of the hospital expansion, and John Calvin, Project Executive Vice President with Skansky USA Building. Welcome all of you to Shaping Sustainable Places.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's really good to have you here. We're going to talk about the successful expansion of the UVA University Hospital in Charlottesville, Virginia. Carrying out a large construction project like this at a hospital that's continuing to conduct emergency operations and deliver other medical care is, of course, extremely trying. Mark, the biggest challenges for you and UVA Health on a project like this?
One of the things that it was a challenge, but is it also a fortuitous opportunity is that the teamwork that we fostered from the beginning of the project really bore fruit at the end of the project when COVID arrived right as our project was coming online. The ED and OR floors were brought online right before COVID, and the first set 3 floors of patient beds right around early 2020. And the hospital created an initiative for the design team and the construction team to, can we turn these 3 floors of patient beds into AII, airborne isolation infection rooms, negative pressure rooms? And that teamwork that we built in 2014, 2015, 2016, and that sense of camaraderie really kept our team going at the end of this and delivered something that I can't say it's unheard of in the industry, but it was a sight to behold and a huge success with the project.
And you can't imagine more trying circumstances than that. Turning to you, John Calvin from Skanska, your reflections on the challenges and how you were able to overcome them?
I remember during COVID, we knew the healthcare system was working around the clock, days after days, just treating patients. And we're building a tie-in huge hospital into an existing operating hospital. And it was the team's idea to do, the nursing and doctor appreciation day. And we knew when there was a shift change down Lee Street, which is the main entrance into the hospital, we lined up all our workers and designers on every floor of the project and just started cheering for the healthcare staff that was dedicated to working through COVID. And that was powerful. And it was a mutual respect going both ways. We brought, top-notch team members, and then we had to create a communication with process and system to build, per specifications of a modern day healthcare system. And we did it through use of technology. And I want to kind of bring that up as one of the talking points. At the COVID time, the physicians and the, nursing staff who worked tirelessly needed something to entice them that there's new beginnings and there's something coming that's even better than where we are today. So they were able to come into our office space and use the virtual reality headsets and visualize this future hospital that's under construction, whether we're pouring concrete or placing glass in big panels, shiny panels on the side of the wall. At that time, they could walk virtually and see the new facility and build an excitement of things to come.
The big room concept is a project approach based on bringing key individuals together to speed up communication and decision-making. Designer John Pendorf, how important was this to this project?
I think that what goes along with the whole big room concept and the trust that gets built within that room is that there's less of a fear of failure in the ideation phase. I don't know that the team could have transitioned 3 floors of patient rooms to pressurized COVID rooms in such a short amount of time without the level of trust and the ability to be candid about what works and what doesn't work and essentially not take it personally. There's a level of interpersonal interaction that can't be replicated without that level of trust and without feeling like everybody's coming to the table with an equal part in the conversation. But I think that level of trust and that willingness to be candid is what makes the team successful.
You were asked to provide LEED Silver certification for this project. How did you take on that challenge?
From a sustainability standpoint, when you're given a goal like, we're going to benchmark to LEED Silver, there's never a single path to get there. And you look at the building itself in terms of what it can do for you. You look at the site, you look at its connection to the community. And healthcare can be an energy hog. And so the energy conservation credits within LEED sometimes can be a challenge. How can the building enhance patient care, but also the quality of the workplace for the people who call this place not just work and sometimes have to be home for days on end? We looked at how do we get daylight and views to the exterior to as many people as possible and as many regularly occupied spaces as possible. The patient rooms are in a lot of ways a no-brainer, but it's the nurses' stations and the break rooms and the corridors that now have windows at the ends of the corridors. It's important not just because of the restorative sort of powers of natural sunlight, but also the views and the connections to nature outside. They offer a sense of calm for people. They give people a sense of connection to what's going on the outside. Is it what time of day is it? What is the weather like? So there's lots of great benefits to the daylight and views opportunities. We had to balance that though with energy efficiency. Healthcare is a huge energy hog, and rightfully so. It requires a lot of power to deliver high quality indoor air, specialized equipment, and round-the-clock support. So we started by looking at the building envelope. How do we maximize daylight but minimize heat gain? How do we preserve those views while still allowing it to be comfortable on the inside? So we looked at different ways that the curtain wall and the glazing on the outside could be modified or even enhanced with shading devices to create that balance. What goes hand in hand with daylight and views is superior air quality and the quality of the indoor environment. So we looked at material health and how do we strip out known toxins or substances of concern from the materials that we were specifying for the insides of the building to just create the most healthy and supportive space for the end users, the patients, as well as the staff on a daily basis.
And back to you, Mark Humbertson from UVA Facilities Management. Hospitals are obviously very specific sort of buildings. I mean, we were looking at the issue there of having to do all this while the hospital is open, while it's dealing with emergency patients. Can you talk us through some of those requirements and your priorities for this project?
Sure. One of the initial charges that came down from the greater UVA construction administration team was we are not going to close any roads to do this project. So we maintained traffic flow. It's a very constricted site. There's no space to work around. So we shifted road lanes a little bit, and between ambulances and buses and pedestrians and visitors, we kept the show going around our site all the time. And except for a few crane and or major deliveries where we did those off hours, that was our commitment to the healthcare facility, or providing healthcare to our community. Was we want to do our best so that they can see us, but they don't really feel our effect on them, looking out for their loved ones and their own health.
Definitely adding to the challenge. And other priorities, particularly sustainability targets here. I read something about net zero water.
For net zero water, the university was looking at how to minimize our water consumption, and consistently with producing waste, hospitals consume a lot of water. But they also produce a lot of water with the HVAC equipment and rainwater harvesting opportunities. So we were fortunate on grounds to have a chiller plant right next door. So we had a great amount of synergy with the construction and design team to look at how to collect rainwater and the condensate from our HVAC equipment and deliver it to the adjacent chiller plant, because the chiller plant uses water for cooling. And we estimated that there's potential to get over 1 million gallons of water collected from the hospital delivered to the chiller plant for use there. That would take care of the entire hospital's water consumption for the year, and thereby a net zero water delivery.
That's amazing. And you've actually achieved that.
Yes, we did. And it's with bringing this hospital on board in different phases through COVID, and getting our maintenance teams up and running on this, and realizing the chiller plant, realizing what they did and didn't have to do to make it work. We weren't sure how clean the water had to be and how much loss you would have by having ultra clean water. So it's only in the past year we've had the system up and running fully, and we will be metering this for the first full year this year in 2025.
We've been hearing from Mark about some of the targets here. John Calvin, what was your and Skaska's take on achieving these things?
My take on the project was that it's a grand vision. It's more than 440,000 square feet of new construction of amazing structure and architecture, and numerous phases of renovations that exceeded over 100,000 square feet, and multiple 20-plus phases as we worked our way into 2021. As you walk up the building from the ED and the ORs into the patient rooms, onto the rooftop for a life flight trauma helipad, it was just an amazing project. And in the end, we were able to, successfully complete 3 different LEED healthcare certifications for new construction, major renovation, MRI replacement for commercial interiors. But ultimately, it was all that plus a significant impact both inside the fence with all the workforce, but outside the fence to the community, the patients, the staff, the faculty, and even Charlottesville and throughout Virginia and the region. It's something to be proud of, and it's a project that we want to try to be able to recreate in the future because it was such a successful formula.
I want to add something that John Calvin just said. Skanska and Perkins & Will brought an energy and an expertise to our very big university in a very small area. And as far as the community goes, having that energy and that intensity and that engagement with the local community and the subcontractor pool, I think that we're going to see a positive, if you want to talk about sustainability, we're going to see a positive effect in the construction community in Central Virginia as a result of them having been here. So beautiful thing about sustainability is what it does for the long term. And, the again, the subcontractor pool and what the community involvement is. There are charitable endeavors that Skanska, Perkins, and Will have initiated on their own terms with Virginia Institute for Autism and other endeavors, and the community is very grateful for them being here in town.
Oh, very nice insights, Mark. It's, as you say, I mean, sustainability is not short-term. It has to be long-term, and that it's also not just in terms of the environment and so on, but also in terms of the social good that's happening here. John Pendorf from Perkins and Will. I'd like to talk a little bit more about some of the solutions that you're using here. I think you touched on some of them, particularly when it came to the indoor climate and so on and so forth. Can we talk a little bit more about some of the innovations that you were able to bring here and what the impact was?
So we've already touched a little bit on water conservation, and when we first started the project, we had a water conservation goal of about 40% water use reduction just for the flow and flush fixtures, so toilets and showers, et cetera. But we were looking at an overall reduction of about 25% across the campus. When we started looking at the condensate capture and the ability to potentially filter that water and recapture it, we had design estimates that would potentially yield offset potable water use by up to 3.1 million gallons of water per year. That's an immense amount of water. This whole system was designed with a 50,000 gallon cistern that helps us to collect the water both from the condensate from the chillers as well as stormwater that is filtered from the 25,000 square foot green roof on the new tower. The water goes through a system of filters, including a vortex separator, which sounds just as exciting as the name implies, and really puts back the water into the building systems and into the hydrological systems, which I think is really the important part, that you're going to always have a need for potable water, obviously. So how do we look to offset it and look at it as a bigger system than just the building itself? The green roofs in particular, obviously they're providing that stormwater management because they're collecting the water. The rainwater is watering the plants that are on the green roof, but the green roof itself also provides additional co-benefits to the people in the building, whether it's being able to look out over a planted roof as opposed to, a painted or a gravel roof or even mechanical equipment, but also providing some of these spaces as habitable spaces that could be walked during breaks, between shifts or while you're waiting for something to stop and start. Again, it's a connection to nature that we could provide that, quite frankly, a lot of healthcare facilities don't have. So I think that in terms of sort of a solution, it's the overall system approach was fairly innovative, but the individual parts and pieces were just about thinking about how one piece can impact another and how you have co-benefits from one solution, that it's actually doing more than one thing at one time.
I mean, I hear that you all worked really, really well together. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, the whole big room concept, it wasn't just between the chemistry between the three of you. Your general reflections, what made that work?
The team developed a project creed early in the project, and it was hung on the kitchen refrigerator and various walls throughout the office, big room. And there were things like, you want to revere the long line of expert designers, contractors, and owners. It takes a dedication and a sacrifice for a project like this. And there's absolutely no reproach on the fair name of the team or team members. You want to cheerfully and willingly do your job, and you want to bring solutions, not problems. We made sure we did not escalate problems that needed decisions outside of our big room team. We solved the problems on the site. We respected the rights and the privileges of all our team members. We wanted to be, model contractors, employers, and employees. Every morning we had a stretch and flex at 7 a.m. And that actually caught on. The adjacent hospital that we're tying into, the workforce started noticing 300 workers out there stretching and flexing at sunrise to music, and the nursing staff and the medical staff started joining in, and it became a culture both on I'll say it again, inside our fence and outside our fence where safety was a priority. So I wanted to emphasize that right out of the gate. And that truly, resonated with all of us. And, I'm sitting here with the owner and designer, years later, and we're still talking.
I'm not listening, but he's still talking.
Kind of everything.
You're the best, Mark.
Mark, just one thing. We've talked a lot about the people who spend the most time in the hospital. It's the personnel and it's the patients. What sort of feedback and impressions have you heard about their experience here?
This building only has one corner, per se, and we gave that corner to the staff lounge for the patient care providers on the bed floors. So that space is a great relaxing refuge from the unit that they're working in. And I'm told that it's a great recruiting tool for clinicians that are interviewing at UVA to see, hey, look at this staff lounge for the nursing patients at this corner office, as it were. And so, and that again is part of sustainability, recruiting good people and getting them to stay extends the life of the hospital and the care it provides. And then, even though we have some green roofs that that people can walk out onto and get outside, get fresh air, they're planted, so you can be in that natural environment as you can on an urban building. But there are also many green roofs that you can see from outside, like the patient rooms. So it's an urban garden out of your window, and that's part of the building. So that connectivity to outside, not just through the daylight that we talked about, but that you can see green space is I am told that patients and staff really much appreciate that.
A hospital is a facility all about healing and being regenerative. And it should be regenerative not just for the patients, but for everyone who walks through the doors and even the planet.
Fantastic. Thank you. On that note, I'm going to thank all of you, Mark Humberson, John Pendorf, and John Calvin, for joining us on Shaping Sustainable Places and giving us an amazing view of a fantastic project. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks again to all our guests for sharing their insights into this important project that's meant so much for the community. And thank you for listening. If you want to give us some feedback on this episode or the series, or suggest ideas for future interviews, please send us a mail to podcast@skatska.com. I'm John Ambrose. Please join us next time as we continue shaping sustainable places.